Are people in the Peach State fearing a repeat of the 2020 drama surrounding the election? A fresh New York Times article suggests just that following this latest indictment of President Trump. Now, some who spoke to the paper say it was the former president's allegations of election interference that lost Republicans 2 Senate seats in the January 2021 runoff elections. That it's a distraction, that President Trump won't be able to stay on message when it comes to the broader priorities of the party. Let's dive into all of this with Republican strategist Rina Shah and NewsNation political contributor Chris Hahn. Thank you so much. Hahn is on. That's your new tagline. You can use that.
Hahn is on.
Thank me later. I don't even need a commission. Okay, Chris and Rina, is the Republican leadership in Georgia out of touch with voters? Rina, ladies first.
I don't think the leadership in Georgia on either side, whether you're looking at anybody who's sitting in office right now or even in the party leadership, is doing anything that's unusual. What they're doing is essentially dissecting what happened 3 years ago. They're reliving sort of the tale of that election. It hasn't stopped for them. If anybody listening today wants to hear more about what they're going through on the ground over there, particularly on the Republican side, go no further than listening to the state senators that were drug into the grand jury to give their account of how they believe that Trump and the 18 other people named with him in the indictment were essentially scheming to overturn Georgia's results and, in essence, trying to create a plot that would work on the federal level.
But you have pro-Trump leadership in the Georgia Republican Party, and somehow this article suggests that most voters, especially in Fulton County, are not on the same page. Chris, what do you think?
I think that the Democrats are going to win Georgia in 2024, and it's going to be because Trump refused to face reality after the election and move on, like every other presidential loser in the history of this country. As a result, the people of Georgia are seeing this day in and day out. Their friends, their neighbors have been affected by this. It is time for every Republican in Georgia to stand up and say the election was not stolen. The Republicans who run that state did not run an unfair election. And it's time to move on. And until the Republican Party moves on in Georgia and everywhere else, it is going to be a major problem for them.
I was going to say, it's not just in Georgia. In fact, I could go on Twitter this morning and see responses to the fact that there are people who believe that all of these indictments do not deflect from the fact that this president should have won the election. Again, so many Americans still believe that. Question for you both. If Trump's mounting legal woes, and we still don't know if this is true, somehow keep him off the ballot, won't this be abysmal for voter turnout for the Republican Party? Chris, I'll start with you.
Yeah, look, I mean, Trump is the key to voter turnout for Republicans. He's the biggest vote getter Republicans have ever had in the history of the party. He still has a grip on about 50 to 60% of the entire Republican Party base. So if Trump is somehow removed from the ballot, it'll be horrible for voter turnout. And I think, quite frankly, it could be a major problem.
Rina?
There's no mechanism by which to remove Trump on state ballots unless the state party votes to do so. And I simply don't see that happening. I've been on local GOP committees in the past. I can tell you it's quite a process, particularly when you have MAGA folks who are still very much embroiled in sort of party politics. They're not leaving anytime soon. And they're the people who show up. It's always the most extreme people in the party that are at every meeting, who are voting, who are stacking these committees. So there's a reality here is that March 4th is what the Fulton County DA Fannie Willis, she has said that's the date she's looking at. There's 6 states that have their primaries or caucuses before that date. There's 15 states that vote on March 5th. These are Republican primaries I'm talking about. Are we going to see any hearts and minds swayed by this bombastic indictment in Georgia? I don't think so on the Republican side. It is what it is. But these debates, the first one, whether Trump shows up or not next week, I think stands to really get Republican minds going in another direction. I already see it with some degree of appetite growing for Vivek Ramaswamy, simply because he's saying stuff that hasn't been said in a long time. Chris Christie is also looking quite appealing to many people these days. Those who are more moderate are starting to feel nostalgia for him and remembering who he was as a governor of New Jersey. There is the bigger sense that Trump cannot win the general election. And what do Republicans want to do at the end end of the day. They want to win back the White House from Democrats. Are they going to be concerted, strategic in their effort to limit Trump in his ability to continue to draw small dollar donations and suck up all the oxygen? I don't know that we know that right now.
I just want to get to one more question because I know we're tight on time, but the fact of the matter is all of these indictments have eclipsed some of those kitchen table issues that so many Americans are thinking about. Nobody's waking up this morning and saying, I wonder who President Trump's going to select as his VP. They're thinking, can I afford to pay for daycare? So in terms of what the president will be speaking about, whether he makes it to the debate stage, whether he could be hindered or distracted by all these cases and the domino effects leading up to the primary, what is he saying about issues? And what are other candidates saying about issues that people will actually be impacted by? Chris?
Since 2015, this man has rarely talked about issues, and he has always sucked the oxygen out of the political debate based on his own antics and his own grievances against his perceived enemies. No, there are no kitchen table issues being discussed by Trump or any other Republicans on a broad scale because Donald Trump sucks the oxygen out of the debate. And by the way, it's also why he's unelectable in November, because the people who are going to make up the difference, the swing voters, want to know what the presidential candidate's going to do for them, not what that presidential candidate is upset about. Donald Trump has a lot, and he's telling people around this country who have a lot less than him that he's a victim. And I'm telling you, that does not play with swing voters. It's why Republicans, smart Republicans like Rina, say this guy's got to get out of there or he's going to bring the whole party down.
Though I think that there are a lot of Republicans who think that what the president, President Trump, is going through speaks to freedom of choice, speaks to freedom to question the government. Rina, I'll let you have the final word, and then we have to wrap.
Sure, there are people who always are going to feel like he fights for them and that he won't back down. We see that to be something Americans really want. But when we talk about these issues that are plaguing every generation right now, whether it's Gen Z, elder millennials like me, or Gen X, we're talking about cost of living, feeling like it's not been addressed by this current administration, the previous administration. Who's even talking about the fact that Gen Z cannot afford rent? Elder millennials are not able to make their mortgages. Gen X is thinking about how to address their future of their work. Do they stay in the workforce? What's to come when it comes to entitlement programs? Are they going to get the retirement their parents got? This is stuff you just don't hear on the trail because you hear the extremism and these cultural issues come up. And I submit to you that even those Republicans who remain within the Republican Party right now for fiscal issues certainly are concerned about the cultural stuff, but they are dying for talking about really the economic crisis that so many of us feel like this country has been facing prior to Biden taking office, even so.
Well, hopefully we can press them a little bit more here on NewsNation and get to those essentials because, my God, the eclipse is massive right now. And we all need to kind of hold each other accountable to have those important conversations. Rina, Chris, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.